Welcome to the Dr. Ginny Show, where our mission is to help transform the lives of 1 million underestimated women and leaders looking to claim their seat at the table and create a fulfilling career and life. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to the Dr. Ginny Show. I'm preparing to be a guest at a fireside chat with one of the financial services industry experts who is a professor at Columbia University, and he had asked me to be his guest for his students in the School of Professional Studies, where they are getting a Master's of Professional Studies in Wealth Management. And as I prepare for the fireside chat, I wanted to share with you some of the stories that I'm going to also be sharing with these talented students at Columbia University. The first aspect of what I'm going to share with them is my story of origin. And many of you have heard my story if you have been a part of the masterclass that I run every couple of months. And if you have participated as one of the audience members for one of my Fortune 500 clients, where I help other ERGs, their women ERG or their Latinx ERG, and contribute to their programming throughout the year. So my origin story is important to me to share because it is one of the ways in which I can connect to my audience. And today, if you haven't heard my story, I'm going to share a very abridged version of it, the same one that I'm going to share with the students at Columbia. And that is that today I happen to be a transformational speaker, leadership coach, career strategist, and #1 best-selling author of my 2 books so far, Fearless Women at Work and Healing Leadership. This year, I am planning to release and publish my 3rd book. It's going to be a surprise, so you will be hearing about that soon. But that wasn't always the case. I was not always who I am today, just like many of you. I am an import. I originally come from a small village near Haiti in the Dominican Republic, and my parents got divorced, and my mother and I basically split the family up, and we moved to the city, and my 2 brothers stayed with my grandfather. When I was 14 years old, I made the move to the United States, and I was starting from scratch. And as a woman growing up in a third world country where there was a lot of financial implications to being a woman, where most of us didn't have steady jobs or independence where we could financially fend for ourselves. Growing up, this became one of my missions to become a woman who could stand on her own. And so when I got to the United States, I saw my opportunity to break from the cycle of poverty and also make something of myself professionally. And my mom was a teacher, so I was able to emulate her from that perspective. Starting out as a 14-year-old without knowing the language, with the desire and the fire in my belly to become independent, and knowing that I didn't know the culture, didn't have any friends, I left them behind, I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. And I was ready for it. It was a combination of feeling so excited about the experience and simultaneously being petrified, not knowing what was going to happen and whether or not I could do it. And when I talk about this story of mine, I always bring in the people element, because if you are in business today, it's all about people. We are in the people business. And when I was a teenage 14-year-old growing up in Jersey City, it was about the people who I surrounded myself with. And at the time, it was the friends that I made through my classes, in the cafeteria, through my sports and swimming and volleyball, and my counselors and my teachers. They were the ones who were guiding me along the way. And today, for you, there are people in your life, at work, in your personal life, who also make up that fabric of support that we all need during our life. So people became so central to me, and it became so important for me to develop relationships because they actually meant my survival. And today in business, it's the same thing. Building true relationships, authentic relationships, with the folks around me has become a form of not only surviving, but thriving no matter what I'm doing in my business. So, as someone who's listening to my story of origin, I invite you to consider, how are you currently viewing the honor of being in relationship with the people that are in your life? And that means the people you run into every single day through the function of your work, to the people who support you on a personal level through your health and finances and well-being, and through just the home that you live in, the whatever you call home. There's people in each of these aspects of your life. And so people became my lifeline. And when I went to college and miraculously made it through college, it was the people during my college years, my classmates, my professors, the TAs, and everyone who had a role to play in me completing a computer science education with an economics minor and graduating in 4 years successfully, and then starting my career in technology back in 1991. When I look back, it has always been that thread of the people who have been pivotal in advancing my way of thinking, in supporting my promotions and career growth, and in helping me become the woman who I've become today. This is really critical for all of us to reflect on what has been my journey as a woman, as a professional, as the person listening to this podcast or listening to this training. What has that been for you? And who have been the cast of characters that have made it possible? Today, who are the people who you rely on and lean on to give you the support, to teach, to care for, and to make your life have the quality that you experience today? And if you find yourself that you're not in a good place as it relates to the people that surround you, I hope that in this new year, you take a closer look at what may be the culprit and begin to take steps that correct the course that you're on if you find that you're not surrounded by people who have your back or who you can call allies, and perhaps decide who to cut the cords with and who to begin to develop relationships with, authentic, organic relationships with. And I know if you may hear me say, Ginny, if it's organic, how come I'm looking to build them? Because it takes intention for us to recognize that maybe I don't have the right people around me. And from that place, because you're intentional, it doesn't mean that you're being inauthentic. It means that you want to make the most of your time, and that we know the hours are limited. So how are you going to approach building those relationships? It takes thought and it takes care to do it in a way that supports you, your schedule, your family, etc. So I want to talk about my origin story in that context, because as I said before, if we are in business, we are in the business of people. And it's so important for us to recognize the people who have made things happen for us and for whom we have become hopefully the person that you're proud to be today. I'm also going to be talking about executive bound, because executive bound speaks to the mission and the passion that I have about developing leaders, and specifically developing women so they can become great leaders for their organizations, where they can have the self-leadership to lead themselves and also be able to lead, engage, and influence others, their teams, to be able to build relationship with stakeholders and to see the big picture, to be able to zoom out and not get back down in the mire of everyday problems and situations, but truly own how they show up, the energy that they exude, the influence that they can wield around, and to use it for good so we can build the work cultures where our teams are thriving, they're high performing, and we see that by building relationships with specifically sponsors, we can continue to have the biggest impact within our company by being in those rooms where the critical decisions are being made about what's going to happen with our vision, with our mission, and with our talent. Executive Bound to me, and starting Executive Bound in 2017, was a decision I had to make for two key reasons. Number one was to support my family, my son Kyle, and it was a decision that meant I was going to have the ability to be closer to him instead of commuting almost 4 hours a day, to go back and forth between my employment, my career, which I loved so much in financial services and technology, and being at home to be able to support him. So while I still had to work, because I am not financially independent where I can say I don't have to work a day in my life yet, I wanted to make sure that I continued to be productive as a professional woman and as a head of household who's responsible for my son, for myself, and to take care of things. And so that was the personal side. On the professional side, while I was in the corporate world for over 26 years, I recognize that many women struggled to navigate the waters, especially in workplaces where they were primarily dominated by our male counterparts. And I say that with love. Financial services, technology, right? Double whammy. I was in an area where there are not a lot of women. And so the women that were there, in many cases, were relegated to a lot of the support functions. And in some cases, in my case, I had the great example of having Daria Foster, who was the managing partner for the company that I worked for almost 17 years at Lord Abbett. So I had that beautiful example of seeing Daria and also just seeing how the system operates and how many women who were talented struggled to continue to go up on the different levels of the company. And so when I had to make a decision as to how to reinvent myself, when I rebranded my career and began as a leadership coach, career strategist, and transformational speaker, I looked at what I noticed was a gap. And the gap that I saw was that even though there were many great intentions to help women and support women in developing and advancing, that wasn't always the case. And that's when I took on this mission. And my mission today is to help change the lives of over 1 million underestimated women looking to claim their next leadership seat and create a fulfilling career and life for themselves and others. And to help organizations willing to support women, looking to attract, retain women so they can have the power of thought diversity, thought leadership, and have their companies represent the marketplace. In addition, of course, to it being the right thing to do, right? To give everyone the opportunity to grow and to develop and show the value they can bring to every stakeholder involved. So Executive Bound has meant for me an opportunity to really show the different dimensions of the woman I am. As I mentioned, I have a family, so that's one of my dimensions. I'm also a transformational speaker because when I'm able to get on a stage and share my expertise, the topics that I discuss with my audience, I'm able to connect with them and provide another pathway for them to see themselves through and to see the possibilities. To know that it doesn't matter where you come from, like me, a third world country, another language, a different background. It doesn't matter what that is, as long as you keep your eye on a target, make sure you have one, as long as you cultivate the strategies that will help you achieve the goals you have and the vision you have for yourself, your family, and your leadership, and as long as you do the personal development to remove anything that gets in the way. Remove the internal conflict that could hold you back from fulfilling your personal and professional potential. And when I look at that perspective in terms of what we are here to do, it's super exciting to know that I can support the business groups, the affinity groups within corporations. I can support the women's groups, the Latinx groups, and any groups that invites me to come in to speak to their audience about personal branding, about a growth mindset, about networking, about mentors and sponsors, and the critical topics that will help women and my audiences to become more confident, remove the self doubt, and truly show up. In other words, when they gain self leadership, you feel empowered to lead your career, to own your vision, and to build those relationships that I talked about at the beginning in a way that supports you and contributes to society, to the financial, emotional, and spiritual well being of the environments you frequent, and that support our companies to thrive as well as our talent and our people. So, transformational speaking is one of the dimensions that I also bring. Another one is being a career strategist. It is so gratifying, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to support other women in identifying how to grow their careers based on their unique value, based on their vision, while addressing any limitations they may currently have, and helping them become more influential, help them negotiate, help them develop the soft skills that are required to handle conflict, to be able to own their power when they walk into a room, especially if they're the only ones in that room. And to do it all from a place of service and contribution, not from a place of ego or having to prove yourself, because that is just way too much to put on yourself. And the other thing that I do is also as a transformational speaker, leadership coach, career strategist, as a leadership coach, I basically take all of the things that I mentioned and I package them in a way that I support my clients to become better communicators and public speakers, to manage and own their careers, and to develop the skill sets that leaders require to have to make the biggest impact at the workplace. And working with companies to do this gives me the most pleasure because I can amplify my impact. I can 10x my impact. And I can achieve my mission of helping to change the lives of over 1 million underestimated women and leaders. This is what I'm going to share with the audience when I speak at Columbia. And I hope that listening to what I've shared today inspires you to reflect on your network, the people that surround you, whether or not you find that they are indeed a support system for you, or maybe it's time to clean the deck and to do something different and be more intentional about building that network of support. And also to consider, where am I today in my career journey? What are the challenges that I currently have? How can I address those challenges? And as an organization, what do we want? What do we want as it relates to our talent and talent development? What do they need for us to support them so that we can attract them, attract the top talent in the marketplace, develop them so we can retain them and we can keep that intellectual capital that we have worked so hard to develop within our company? And then what keeps you up at night as a company, as a senior leader at a company? What are the biggest pain points that you have? What are the problems that year over year you keep facing and you cannot find a solution yet? Because those are the ones that, even though they may seem to be the most pesky problems, most likely they will be the ones that will give you the highest return on your investment. So I would love to sit down with you as an individual leader or with you as a senior leader representing the leadership and talent development branch of your company so we can uncover what is really getting in the way. What is it that you really desire? What's keeping you up at night? And what can we do about it? I would love to be your thought partner. And if you want to connect with me, go to info@executivebound.com and let's connect. And I'll leave that link here as well so we can connect and talk about this. Live with purpose, live with joy, and thank you for letting me share with you what I will be sharing later. I'll see you soon. If you enjoyed today's content, I appreciate your review so others can find us and share it with your friends. And to stay in touch, join our community to receive valuable strategies and expert advice at drginnybarrow.com. See you soon.